Welcome to Kev's Travel Stories. Each week I'll be bringing you a story from the weird and wonderful world of travel, a world that can change the way you see life and love and even the way we find meaning. Places that are iconic and sometimes surprising and even terrifying. So sit back and enjoy while we go on a magical mystery tour together. Welcome to Kevin's Travel Stories, and this week I am looking at something that fascinates me. Why do we hate some travel destinations? Why would we say, I wouldn't be seen dead in that place? And I recently suffered this prejudice when I told some people I was going to visit Benidorm, that very famous, iconic resort in Spain, just down from Valencia. Now, why, you may ask, did I receive such a prejudicial response? It was so prejudicial and so universally negative that I actually looked up the word prejudice, and it's from the Latin pre and judeis, which means to judge in advance. And it was quite true, because everybody I spoke to had never been to Benidorm, and yet they all loathed the idea of going there. They loathed the very idea of visiting. And this got me thinking. There's this very deep part of the human psyche which really likes to form opinions. It's part of the defense mechanism where we say, okay, well, that tribe has hurt us, or that species has hurt us. We must steer clear and actually take some action against them. And this has become refined as we became more sophisticated and civilized. So now we would have prejudices that we'd express verbally, but they're still extremely powerful. Let's look at the reaction I got when I said I was going off to Benidorm. Well, some of my nearest and dearest and some very, very educated travelers all said, "What are you going there for? Why would you want to go to such a place? It's full of lagerlouts. It's full of obese, tattooed Brits who eat fish and chips, get drunk, spew all over the place and start fights." Well, you know the story. That would be a major common prejudice. And again, I stress that this is coming universally from people who had not been to Benidorm. And the interesting thing is, as I will tell you and reveal at the very end, when I spoke to people who had visited Benidorm, it was quite a different story. And the story about Benidorm and the prejudice that everybody seemed to universally have was really encapsulated by some of the TV programs I researched before leaving. You have Benidorm, the comedy series, you have Benidorm A&E, you have a whole series of Brits Abroad. There's a sort of a subculture of these sorts of documentaries or real-life drama that like stirring things up. I think that's the only way you can describe it. It makes good telly when people are violent, drunk, distressed, and in conflict with themselves, their nearest and dearest, and the police. Great TV. Was very, very saddened and would have been deeply disappointed if that had been my mindset. Because as soon as I arrived, I felt there was something in the air that was actually really very special. I was met by this wonderful guide, Sergio, who's from the Visit Benidorm tourist board. They are going out of their way to try to counteract the propaganda, and that's the old Roman word for putting out spurious false truth, because the TV series have actually had a huge impact. And Sergio was at pains to express to us how damaging this has been to this city, how it has actually had a global influence, and they're now trying to write the story. And I'm going to do my own little part to try to write the story and look at how we become prejudiced. Well, The very first thing that I saw when I arrived was the Amelia Hotel, which is 15 minutes from the famous Benidorm Strip. It's 5 stars, 2 golf courses, pretty much everything you could expect and need. We were taken into town by the wonderful Sergio, and he sat us on the main promenade. There's this wonderful castle right in the middle of this iconic strip. Remember, Benidorm is often referred to as the New York of the Mediterranean. You can see it when you stand right in the middle of the promontory and you look to your left, where's the Poniente Beach, and on the right, the Levant Beach. I was standing on the Mirador del Castel, and you do see this New York skyline stretching off to the left. And it's extraordinary how this little fishing village, because it was a fishing village essentially, right up to the 1950s when the fishing industry started to decline, extraordinarily influential Benidorians decided they had to have employment. The mayor in particular, at the time of Franco, was a very, very brave man. Benidorm had started to attract particularly British people, and some of them started wearing, I hate to say this, it's so shocking when you think about it, yes, dear listener, bikinis. Such was the outrage when the bikini was launched onto these extraordinarily beautiful blue flag beaches of Benidorm, that the Catholic high priest came along and put a sign outside of Benidorm saying, "You are entering hell." Even Franco was involved in the bust up the infamous dictator, and this mayor went up to Franco and laid it down on the line. He said, "Listen, if we don't allow ourselves to catch up with the times, Benidorm and the rest of Spain will be finished." And the dictator did actually listen. And hence we had this sudden increase, particularly in British people, going in their droves for what was actually historically the first package holiday destinations. They were very clever in the way they decided that, yes, we can pack everything, wrap everything underneath one particular ribbon where you get your meal, you get your transfers, you get your flights, you get your free meals, and you get entertainment. Of course, Benidorm, one of the things that prejudices people is this sense that it's full of cabaret and karaoke and people making fools of themselves. This led to this backlash, this prejudice, where you had the Sunday Times in the 1990s talking infamously about the wide-bodied jets carrying the wide-body fat tourists like cattle trucks. And this got the reputation and the prejudice of the high-class traveller set dead against Benidorm and its ilk. And then, of course, the TV shows came along, and the 80s lager lout reputation was well and truly established. But is it true? Is Benidorm a lager lout hell? Would you like to hear the answer, dear listener? I have literally just stepped off the plane from Benidorm. Am I in bandages? Did I have to visit ICU? Did I have to have my nose refixed? No. What I did see was this beautiful, rich city that has, on this extraordinary blue flag beach, some of the tallest hotels in the world, the Grand Hotel Bali, for example, hotels that have been voted among the best in Spain. And Spain has a very, very high reputation for hotels of the best sort. And the hotel I was staying in fact, just outside of the city, the Amelia, was wonderful. It had every amenity you could ask for, particularly if you liked golf, water sports, and fine food. They are hugely environmentally aware because there's very little water in the region and they have to somehow preserve water. And people come from around the world to learn how they manage the flights, how they manage the seasons, how they manage the influx. And it's extraordinary. We actually visited the hub, the AI center where all of this smart technology is employed. So the Benidorm, visit Benidorm and their wonderful intelligent team who are trying to reshape and rebrand Benidorm, if you like, can then look at the data that comes in from the airports and the coaches and get on to the likes of Ryanair, Aer Lingus, whoever is flying there, particularly British Airways and EasyJet, and tell them that this big song contest is coming up, this big cycling thing is coming up, we need more flights, and then we also need more hotels. It was quite extraordinary seeing this in real time, because Benidorm has this other reputation which nobody seemed to know about, and I was gobsmacked, to be truthful. They have a fantastic international song festival. The great Julio Inglese was the champion of this. They also have very, very regularly these huge independent music festivals. They have often been the place where their entry to the Eurovision Song Contest has been staged. It's a cycling heaven. They've often started the Volta a España, one of the three great races around Europe. They love it there in Benidorm. The roads are filled with elite cyclists and recreational cyclists. There's an elite centre that's being built just outside Benidorm, where whether you play paddle or tennis or whatever it is, football, you can go there and increase your sports excellence. And I'm not even get me going about the wine and the food. We visited Tapas Alley in the old part of the city and enjoyed the most extraordinary range of tapas on one of the 300 sunny days of the year. And we also visited some incredible local villages. There's just a bike ride or a car ride away. We actually went in a jeep. It was wonderful. There's Polop, there's Altera, and of course Guadalest. What an incredible place within the shadow of Benidorm. This picture-perfect village has just about everything. You could set a Hollywood Disney movie there. It is so beautiful. I can remember sitting outside the Salt and Pepper Museum, having a perfect espresso, some Iberico ham, and some extraordinary Spanish cheese, lapping in that 300 days of sunshine as it kissed my brow, and just thinking how extraordinarily lucky we are. And it was such a struggle trying to find the Zatud and the overweight lagerlouts. They just weren't there. So that has disembodied me and disavowed this extraordinary prejudice that I came to Spain with from my educated but not having visited travellers. Then I bumped into my neighbour once I'd arrived back and told him I'd just been to Benidorm. He follows the podcast. And he was saying how he loves going to Benidorm and he loves the cabaret acts and he loves a week of rest with him and his wife. And remember, Benidorm has, for the older person, it has the best connectivity. The roads are so perfect, and the pavements in the old town are perfect for people who have mobility problems. So this is a city that is enlightened, green, smart, entertaining, and just wonderful. So where does this prejudice, how does a prejudice get hold? I've had one of my prejudices blown out of the water. Just take a moment to reflect. What are your own prejudices when it comes to travel? It used to be said in Belfast, when the bombs were going off, that nobody could come to Ireland because of one small incident in one part of the island. And that prejudice took years to break down. So just check your own prejudices when it comes to travel and the people who go or live in certain resorts, and challenge them, because it may well be, just like me in Benidorm, there is a hidden gem sitting right underneath your nose, waiting for you to overcome your prejudice and discover.